Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at Church Girls Chronicles.
Hey guys, thank you so much. Good to see you tonight in the Chronicles
Is that the
where we
noise?
talk
So behind me?
where we tap from you.
No, I
Let's
don't
try.
know. I don't know.
Come on and clock it on
We
you.
be trying it. We be doing it. But thanks, guys, for joining us for Church Girls Chronicles. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in the
Yeah,
room. We
you're in the
thank you so
place
much
to
for
be.
being here with us on this Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
For sure.
Listen, since you're here, hop on over to our 4 platforms. You heard me.
Please and
I said 4. Our 4 platforms. Hop on over to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And
yes. Please.
like and follow us on all of those platforms. Please, please, please. You can now see us everywhere. All the things. TikTok
All the
and
things.
Instagram, YouTube. Please hop on over, like and follow. Even if you followed us on another page, even if you follow us on Facebook, please go over to YouTube and follow and subscribe because that's what it is. That you got to subscribe so that you can get
Like and
the
subscribe.
notification
Yes.
that
And
we're
hit the
live.
notification bell. Yes.
Yes. So you got to subscribe on YouTube. Facebook, just hit the like button because Facebook is basic. And then over on TikTok and Instagram, please, 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 please follow and like us on both of those platforms as well.
Please.
We thank you so much for being a part of us and building our brand. You've been so patient, our little followers. We're so excited about it. We really are. So we're here. What's up, sis?
Hey, what's going on?
We have a new look. We
Mm,
like our we like our new look. I don't know if y'all like it or not, but we like
yeah,
it. I gotta fix
a
my
new
camera.
look.
Something
We have a new look.
is happening. How's that? Okay, I think that's a little bit better. But we have a new look, and we're doing some new things out here. So I'm excited about it. And we thank you guys for
New
being
and
here with
improved,
us and
honey.
subscribe.
Being improved. So we want you to rock with us so we can get these things popping, honey. Soon we'll be having podcasts rocking. We need you guys to be in the place and hearing what we're
In
saying
the
and hear
building.
from in the building. And we need to hear from you. We need to know what's going on. We need to know what y'all thinking about what we're talking about. And we need to know if you have things you want us to be talking about. So please
Right.
hit us up on those 4 platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications so that you're gonna know every time we come on, whether we are doing a TikTok dance or whether we are talking and discussing important
Did you say
things.
TikTok?
I might want to do the peace live on
The
TikTok.
peace slide, you gotta send me that one. I don't know what that is. I
Dun,
haven't seen it.
dun, 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 dun,
If I
dun.
said I don't know what it is, singing the music in the
The
background.
shouting, the churchy one, the church
Oh,
shouting
my
guy.
camera.
Looks like that fast, actually.
Oh, oh,
That
oh, oh,
church
yeah.
going to my head. It's a little slower.
Okay, well, do it. If that's what we're doing, we need y'all to know about it. And
I'm not even say something.
comment, comment, like, and share.
Comment, like, and
There's some,
share.
there's some hearts and hundreds down here. I don't know what side it's on, but over there somewhere. So comment, like, and share. Please, thanks, because we like to know what you got to say. We do. That makes us happy. So we started a series last week called what's it called?
Yeah.
Terrible. The series
It's
is called Doing Work.
doing the work.
Obviously, I didn't do my work, but that's the name of the series. Y'all, wait, give me. Hold
Yeah.
on.
It's called doing the work. And when we're talking about, wellness, right? And wellness as it relates to our bodies, man. Doing the freaking work, yo. It's hard work to be doing.
It is. It is doing the work. And last week was our first.
You just feel like like your whole neck is just all I see is your face.
Because my whole situation had dropped to the floor, right?
Oh,
So I
okay.
was leaning over trying to stay in camera, and I was like, "What is wrong? Why am I so low?" Because my
Mm.
stand dropped to the floor, so I raised it back up on where it should be. So now I'm gonna
Oh,
sit back.
okay, cool
Yeah,
beans. All right.
I was
Pretty good.
literally leaning forward like this to try to stay in right. So I had to fix it. But I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Okay. So yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It's terrible. It was like I was like, why is it so down here by my feet?
That's so funny.
So last week we did our first episode in the series, and that was called Hindrances. And we had a little, talk about the things that keep us from getting on the right track and doing the work. And this week we're going to talk about eating by faith.
Yeah, eating by faith, or faithful eating. All of them are still, it's still like eating by faith is so crazy because something you said
It's
last
hard
week. It's hard to do, but I think something you said last week was important, right? That um, with all that we don't know, right, and with all that is going on, we can do the best that we can, and you know, because we can't trust their sources, and
to.
how much grace is being applied because we can't. And then we talk, and I share the scripture that where sin abounds, grace much more abounds. And so sin is the reason why things corrupt itself, right? Anything that God has created
Yeah,
naturally, it's the enemy's job to destroy and distort. And
right.
so, part of that is our nutrition and food and those things. And so has it been destroyed and distorted? Heck yeah, for sure. And I think,
Absolutely.
because God is gracious and he's kind, um, that grace is applied and healing is applied as a result. However, and I think part of that grace is allowing yourself to learn new things, being exposed to new information, and dealing with a mindset that is unhealthy, and that takes faith. That takes the
Mhm.
work of right. That takes the work of faith, not just faith. Oh, I believe God. He gonna keep me healed and keep me. God bless this food. While I'm sitting around with a
And I
ham
eat
hock,
big thing.
right? A big chunk of pound cake, a ham hock, and and I think side of macaroni and cheese.
Maybe not a ham hock. But that's one thing I do want, we're going to talk about today is like foods and eating by faith and kind of what that can look like, right? Because I mean, I wasn't in Eden,
Yeah,
you know, so I really don't know what God really put there. I know what the Bible says and what happens in the New Testament and what He says, and it's just like we're gonna talk about, because I'll talk about it a little bit today. As long as my camera doesn't continue to drop, we'll be fine. Um,
right.
so yes, that's where we are now. We have two more. We have two more episodes. We're going to do it the whole month of September of doing the work. So last week was hindrances and the things that we're going to talk about eating by faith. Next week we're going to talk about rest, and then the following week is what is community something healthy community, right?
Community.
So uh,
Yeah,
those are the four episodes in this particular series. And so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. All right. So getting into it, talking about like eating by. So are we gonna talk about, just going to McDonald's and like expecting the Lord to keep our body strong? Or what do we mean by that?
and that's exactly what it doesn't mean, right? Going to
Right.
McDonald's and expecting God to keep our body strong. It really is that our faith has to work, but it also, doing that means seeking wisdom, seeking understanding, and seeking a better way. And once we get that
Mhm.
information, we have to implement it. And that's the faith part of what this is, right? Eating by faith, because you have to do the work.
Right.
There's work to go along with it.
And I think too, it also needs to incorporate the fact that we have to trust the fact that if we decide to not go to McDonald's and not do the fast food thing and take the go to the grocery store and take the time to feed our families and cook, that God is going to make room and time and space for us in other, because that's why we don't do it. That's one is why we don't do it, right? Feel like we don't have time.
Right. We talked about
So
that last week too about the issue of time.
right. So we have to not only have faith that, for some of that into, but also for that, for God to be our daily provision, not just providing materialistic, providing time and resources as well. So that's part of it. So I think one thing I think is really important is especially religious circles is what can we and what right? Like
Yeah.
what there's a term that's being thrown out there now called God's food. What is considered to be God's and our, we know it's not that processed stuff that we buying off the shelf. It's definitely not hot fries and hot Cheetos.
Yeah. Right. That's not God's. So I think anything that's natural. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sharing a lot up here today in the bosom area, but
Okay.
anything that's natural, I think it's God's food, naturally grown, things that are we have accessible to us. I mean, everything we need, He created, and it was good, right? So whether it was the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, or the every creeping and crawling thing, or the plants and the herbs and the vegetables and all of those things that were edible at the time. Um, all of those things, are God's food. Anything that was created by Him, but even in that, and this is where I think it becomes a little controversial because we can say
Yeah.
that, but those things are being tampered with, right? So when it comes down to USDA and food safety and all that kind of stuff. It is somebody's always tampering with it. Insufficient regulations, frequent recalls on food, the system itself being fragmented, all that stuff as it exists currently in our world, make it
Mhm.
difficult to eat God's food because you never know. You
Right.
get food farm, they got to recall it. Why? Because salmonella, all kinds of things can happen.
This probably collide in the lettuce.
Right.
What are we
Right.
doing?
Right.
Like it's
So
just it's. But I also ask that because some religions don't eat cow, they don't eat beef, and don't eat pork, and don't eat. Certain things are just not
so
eaten.
and I
And
think so I think we've evolved, right? So evolution plays a big role in that as a people and to what you're used to eating, what you've been exposed to eating, all of that goes along with your nutritional evolution. And so while Old Testament scripture Jews were not, there were very clear rules about what they should and shouldn't eat, right? But then New Testament comes along and he puts a feast in front of Peter and says, if this is going to keep you from being good friends with your brother, and then you sit down and eat a piece of sausage. Like, um, that's not, it's not important, right? So, and I'm assuming if God is allowing, saying that it's not a big deal for you to not eat these things are not worth you not being in fellowship with your brother, then he, of course, would invite him to engage in something that was going to be detrimental to his health. I think God created things, and I think we have to exercise wisdom, though, right? In all of
right,
that, He gives us wisdom, and He said that's why He says, you know, all things in moderation, right? So there are even rules around that. Like you can I believe that that's a reality. Like there's moderation in which we should engage in anything. Food, even the amount of food we eat, we can eat all the best foods in the world and still overeat or eat too late in the evening or, after a time where our metabolism is slowing down. So there are so many other factors that go around that are just, so when I say God's food, I'm talking about how can I apply God's wisdom to my eating habits and the things that are going to best keep me healthy. And like I said, if you're class A anemic, at some point in time, you're going to have to consume meat. Like it's because your protein and your irons and all those things have to be supplemented until your iron and magnesium and those vital supplements kind of catch up.
right,
And so there may be a season where you have to eat meat, but now you need to be picky about the kind of meat you eat. Maybe you eat Bell Farms, where you know that it's organic and not shot up with hormones and all that kind of stuff. You can make those kinds of choices around that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's some specific thing. I think it's more the wisdom that you utilize as it relates to your own personal health and health journey.
right. And I know there are some there in Leviticus that uh where God spoke specifically about the cow and and sheep and goat and venison and bison and things like that. And two, are the regulations, especially in the old, were because they didn't have refrigeration, have a lot of things now that can keep your food fresher or fresh,
Right.
period. So those regulations were put into place because you didn't want the meat it just because it couldn't be properly stored. Um,
Right.
so, um, because I think that's a big thing, ju- we just a little our previous episode about how we're inundated with so much information. Society kind of guide pushes like can guide and push where we how we do what we're eating, and now everybody's health guru. Everybody knows what you're supposed to be eating. Everybody knows, you know, Delion cinnamon and juice this. Don't do that. All things, right? So everybody got an opinion about what's healthy and what's not. But if we just eat things in as close to its original form as we possibly can, then that's God considered to be God's or the food that God here for us to digest and ingest the way
Right.
that
Yeah, without much manipulation, and eat it the way that it grew out the ground or whatever. Like eat it and not do much to it.
right.
We don't have to do a million, and we don't have to cook it to death. Like I
Mhm.
think all the things. The bottom line. God's food is because I think when you think about it, right, the common sense part of it is life gives life. So
Right.
if it's living and it's close to its living state that you can keep it. So you want to not be, like I said, cooking your vegetables to death. You want to not um, be overloading everything with salt and pepper and or salt and
Right.
other things. Like you want to be able to eat food in as fresh of a state that you can. And those, like I said, I think that is why meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds are the
Mhm.
things that are, considered God's food because you can prepare them in so many different ways and keep it in its natural state and not have to worry about, you know what I mean?
And even with salt, God provided natural salt.
Natural seasonings, yeah.
And there's natural salt in the earth. We're the
Yeah.
ones that cured and bleached it white and dyes didn't put a whole bunch of
Right.
stuff. There,
Right.
there because he needed to taste like something.
Right. 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 That's true.
He cruel, you know.
Right.
And salt, our bodies need a certain amount of sodium.
Right.
Not, but our bodies do need a certain amount of sodium.
Of course.
So what he created in our body we needed, and he provided natural source for all of those things.
Mhm.
And I think I think the hang up about being vegetarian, not vegetarian, that can be overwhelming. And you spoke, you made a statement really, really important to find out what you do for what works for your body.
Mhm.
Because I'm not somebody who cannot eat protein rich foods for a long period of time. I can't.
Right.
I have to have fish or meat a diet a few times a week,
Yeah.
multiple times.
And I'm very
Um,
much the opposite of that. So, and that's those things are genetic. Like they're not only genetic, but like there are whole theories behind even that. Like your blood type determines what foods you most crave and why you need them. Like so, my blood type, when I looked it up, according to that particular study, makes sense that I like vegetables the way that I do, and I can pretty much live off vegetables and nuts and berries and and grains and stuff like that. I don't have to have meat. Huh?
I said, yeah, I love vegetables. I would prefer to eat them every day alone, but my body wouldn't function well. That
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, but I don't really even crave meat like that. Like, so I can, people who don't have that immediate meat craving and could pretty much avoid it every day. They say there's a particular blood type. So then other blood types crave are more carnivorous. And so
Mhm.
there's a whole behind that. So if there's so many factors, you can find a study to justify just about anything. But I think as it relates to more specifically, as it relates to how there is a way that God designed it. The natural way is always going to be the better way for your body because these systems in our body were designed in alliance with that, in relative to that, right? To that being our sustenance, that being the way in which we survived and we thrived. Um, but we're sin abounds, grace much more abounds. So of course we corrupt human beings, we corrupt everything. And so as a result, nothing is uncorrupted. So we have to just be mindful of what we're eating and just be aware. I think one just the depth of corruption we don't even always understand. And I was looking at some information um, recently, just talking about just the slip in the safety systems and the different outbreaks that we've experienced uh, with the CDC, foodborne illnesses, hospitalizations, and deaths have increased and doubled in the
Mm-hmm.
last year. Um, 1,400 illnesses, 487 hospitalizations, and 19 deaths. Um, but we have fewer recalls on food. But people are getting sicker from food all the time. Um, so all kinds of things are happening around us when you look at things statistically. And how do you avoid it? You can't really avoid it except for just being vigilant. And really, eating it all is by faith right now. Eating anything is a faith walk, right?
Just shop the fresh vegetables, fresh meat, fresh fish. It's like, okay, you say it's non-G, say it's organic, and you see all these, but
Is it
because right,
really?
all because it did all those things right because it's commercial and we got to keep it on the shelf longer. Well, to make sure they can keep it in their cupboard, and they know these things are perishable. They're highly, highly perishable. There's no reason why able to have a box of cereal for 3 months. And in certain countries, most outside of the West, you can't because those ingredients those are put in there in order for it to stay on your shelf for 3 months are banned in other countries.
Yeah, potassium bromate is allowed in the state of in our states, but it's banned in the UK and in Canada. Um, brominated vegetable oils or any BVOs. Um,
Give an example of the
so what is a brominated vegetable? Regular vegetable oil, like regular. Like remember how you used to buy Crisco? You seen Crisco on the shelf in a long time, right?
right.
But and those have been banned in the United States, like any modified vegetable oil that derive from corn or soybean oils. Those are have been banned. Like you can't like the blend, and even the way they used to blend vegetable oil with all of those oils. You can that's been changed. They say in the United States. They say. um, so
So
those are the things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the bromine in it. So in those oils, um, and it's not just food. It's not like oils that have it just alone, but like Mountain Dew, they had those oils in it. Yeah,
whether that's
from
or not, you should
right
not be out do no
soft
way.
drink. Right. But they had this BBO is a form of vegetable oil that has been modified with bromine, and
Mm-hmm.
so that process has been banned in the United States. Um, but that's only been in the last year. It's not like it's something that
Right.
has been, in the play forever, never, never, never. Um, red dye number 3. They just started banning. Wait, FDA is going to ban it starting in 2027. So it hasn't started as of yet here in the United States, but it's already banned in the UK and in Canada.
So you
Um,
got Cheetos in, guys.
yeah, them honey number threes, fours, and fives, honey, they got to go. Um,
Yeah.
a livestock growth promoter called ractopamine is legal in the U.S., but it's banned in 160 countries, including the UK, Canada, and Russia, China, and Russia. And arsenic,
Breasts,
and
thighs,
it's an
and
art.
chest. You're looking like arms and legs. And
Mhm.
arms. It has that thing. It,
The livestock growth promoter, and the other one is Resarsone. It's an arsenic-based poultry additive. Um,
arsenic
hmm
is a
it
poison.
became yeah, yeah, but it recently they just recently banned it in the United States, but it's been banned since the 1990s in Europe and other countries. So like things like that that have gone on in our country, and we've been allowed to eat and partake in all this time, have been a part of our processing system for foods, um, especially processed foods. Most countries don't even allow it. And so the things that, our shelf life on food and all that kind of stuff exists because of a lot of these preservatives and things that are not even allowed and are regulated differently in other countries.
Right. And we talked about before this country does stuff like that. We get into this, but they like to keep us sick so they can keep us in the loop.
It's
Um,
definitely with the
yeah,
pharmaceutical companies. Yes.
healthcare is free and affordable for everybody. They're not trying to keep you sick, you know. So we have to be very careful, and we have to be, take the time to go to the grocery store and shop the outside, uh, shop the perimeter of the store, shop the
Shop
fresh
the
produce.
and if you're going to shop anything else, read the labels because one of the things that's been pushed for with the Maha movement, which is Make America Healthy Again, that with the movement with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He started. Um, he one of the things that they're being forced to do, well, they're reconsidering and phasing out red dye 40, yellow 5,6, blue and 1 and 2, orange B, citrus red 2, etc. But most of them are in candies and beverages. But the
Mhm.
other thing too is that and this is something I was watching TikTok or something the other day too. And somebody noticed this on the back of some food that this food may cause cancer, but now the warning labels have been put on, are starting to be put on more and more processed foods that people buy on a regular basis to let people know that these have carcinogens in it, or the process that we use could produce carcinogens that cause cancer, or this could cause this, or this could cause that. So there are warning labels that are now being put on food. Huh?
You said I was watching TikTok the other day.
Was it Ticker Talker, one of them, TikTok or something. See it, Ticker Talker. I was
Oh yes,
watching
you're
it,
right. Hey,
and it's actually been mandated that all foods who have those kind of issues have to be labeled by 2027. So over the next couple of years, we should see those things start to change.
yeah, and be careful too, guys. And we'll get into a couple other things, but be careful of like that methods. Microwave was a cooking method that was bad. Don't microwave your food. I know you want to eat your leftovers, but I guarantee you, if you put it in a glass oven safe container and put that container in the oven at 375, 15 or two, like go up or do something, your food will get warmed up and it's warmed up quickly. Works very well. I have a microwave, but I have not used my microwave in over a year. It's literally just collecting.
I got rid of mine years ago.
It doesn't right. It doesn't make like there's even air fryer.
Yeah, they're
The way
discovering new things with air fryers too.
yeah, I think it's the coil, the way the coil works, it's not so you have to make sure that you're getting something that's either ceramic, um, hot, it's stainless steel, um, that type of thing. I know our place has an air fryer supposedly bad stuff in it. Um,
Does
so
it? I didn't know
yeah,
because I have their pot system, and I love it.
yeah, their pots is true too. It's ceramic. It's not all the supposed to be all the good
Yeah,
stuff. So go back and
I have pots.
yeah, yeah. So with your pots and pans, but we'll get into that later. But just be careful with quick cooking methods and anything that pops up that's like, oh, do this. It's gonna get anything that's gonna make your day quicker, query.
Yeah,
Because cooking your food on the stove, not to death, but cooking your food on the stove is the best way to cook.
yeah, it is.
Cook. It's the best way to reheat, and it's the best way
Yeah,
to cook your
yeah,
uh,
for sure.
because it's stuff that they put the food, the things that they put in these cooking utensils to make them more money.
Yeah,
It's all commercial for them. They don't care about how we feel. They don't care about our health.
not about health. No, and I think it's not that they don't care. I think what's more diabolical is not about them not caring. It's about the cahoots that they're in with other
Yeah.
agencies to maintain an unhealthy state of
Yep.
people being in a state. So I think, being unhealthy makes money, right? Who wants to you healthy? You don't need to go to the pharmacy. You don't need to go to the doctor. There's so many things that happen when you're in a healthy place physically that we don't consider our large corporations in this country are runoff of and depend on us being unhealthy. So, you know, that's just the reality of it, and that's the bottom
It,
line.
it's crazy. And we mentioned before in other in our previous episode, might be like the point, right? If it's all bad. We have to consider the fact, like Steph earlier in this episode, that God gives grace if we're trying and doing the thing, right? So if you're making the effort to buy God's food and to eat it in the healthiest, um, close to its original state as possible, then we trust that God is going to cover that. That He's going to make sure that as long as we're doing the right thing, He's going to keep our body strong, right? Yeah, because
Yeah.
we can
Okay.
can't trust them to help us. It's not
No.
it's because they're not trying to help us, only help themselves. Um,
Right.
so let's talk about this Daniel's fast that people, what is it, like one year?
Yeah. So it's the 21. I
It's
mean, I, eh, I don't know. It's one of my pet peeve things that I kind of like get on a soapbox about because I feel as if the church takes this time to do these 21-day fasts corporately, which for me is a whole nother like conversation, right? So fasting as a means of spiritual growth has some very specific guidelines. And I think not that we shouldn't corporately fast. I don't know where that's a thing, right, in scripture, but we've adopted this thing with this corporate fasting, like the whole church or the whole, we all go on these corporate fasts. And we tend to use the model and the outline of the Daniel, and we call it the Daniel fast. No, first of all, it wasn't fast. That was Daniel's lifestyle. So that's how he ate all the time. And when he fasted,
crazy
right?
food.
So, um,
But go ahead, go ahead. I cut you. My bad.
I don't know. And I think he had a way of eating that was different. He and the before and Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego,
And the
they
bit
all had and Abednego. Um, if you read the scripture, it's very clear that the reason why they get in trouble in the first place is their lifestyle, the way that they ate was different than the king, and they didn't want to do and eat the way that the king wanted them to eat. And so it's to me it's a lesson in the responsibility that the church has to teach on good eating and good health habits, not this intermittent time where we shut everybody down and use it as a parameter for um, a fast, but to use it
Right.
as um, a teaching tool to help the believer understand the importance of first separateness from culture and society, and that our food and our eating habits around food are just as important as any other thing that we ought to be mindful of as it relates to not being conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like that whole story, I think speaks very specifically to that. And I think, you know, just the things that they said about them, looking how they looked and being youthful and being vibrant, like all those things were things that were an issue, and it was
Hmm.
largely because of what they ate was very different than what King Nebuchadnezzar and that community of people ate. So, um, and so I think that that's important to note. And so when we talk about the Daniel fast, it's not a fast necessarily as much as it is a lifestyle and a way of eating that is separate and apart from the environment that they're living in culturally. And so I think that that's a lesson to the believer that we should be eating differently too. And not to be bougie or extra or special, but because we understand um, that God wants us healthy. How effective can we be, or we if we're not healthy?
Right. Right.
And
I
it's a
mean,
sign
you
of
can't.
good steward.
Right, of our bodies, right? It's
Hmm.
because we talk about stewardship all the time, and because it pertains to our finances and our money, our material things, but we don't talk about it much when it comes to managing our health and our physical well-being, and although the Daniel fast may not, we're not saying that's the only stuff we should be eating, right? We're
Right.
saying that you can use it as a lifestyle. You can adopt it as a lifestyle, change. It's not something and should just be used for a corporate fast because Daniel ate that way all the time. He lived in an area and in a community where they weren't down what Daniel was down for. So he adopted these things and he started doing so that he was living the way God lived, the best that he could, while amongst people who were ungodly.
Right.
So it's important to note that God really, really good instruction on
Hmm.
how to eat his way. And it's not necessarily and fast because God does say you can eat meat and fish and birds and eat off. Um, but it's to say that if you do I all the things you don't know, the things that you can't control, he will control, for us on our behalf. We have to believe and have faith that in the grace that he has given in this particular distance and time that covers our whole life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to put God in the spiritual box, and even with that, we don't even do that right all the time. But we just want to put God in the spiritual box and not think that he cares about our whole life. He's
Yeah.
concerned about spiritual well being. He's concerned about our physical well being. He's concerned about our mental and emotional well being. He is concerned about our whole life. So we have to know that he's going to watch over us and care for us if we're doing um the right thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's
And
it's
and I think good something interesting that I was reading, even now, and I had looked it up, and I wanted to share that Daniel, his choice of eating, he followed, of course, the Hebrew Levitical law, um, and it was the things that he differed from Nebuchadnezzar in that the culture itself. He wanted to separate himself out from the culture, but it was an act of worship. It was a part. His eating was as much a part of his worship. It was as anything else. It was a part of that. And I think teaching that to the believer, because our bodies belong to God, and teaching us to
Right.
eat well shows a reverence for that, for our bodies. And I think it's a really important fact. Like when you think about it from that perspective, it's honoring, and it can be, you know, can be attributed to a form of worship, to the way that we choose to worship, because we understand that we cannot be meat for the use of God effectively in an unhealthy space. And so
Right.
restricting our diet, doing those things, exercising wisdom in our eating habits, all those things I think important are important to differentiate us from others. Um, be sure that we're, just as we're set apart, it says we're set apart, and it's also an act of worship, sanctification and worship. I think when we make different choices and seek God about what it is we actually choose to consume, and I
Hmm.
think that should be taught
Hmm.
in the
And it is for
training.
everyone. I mean, everything that God has bring it, it's for everyone. It's you got to choose. It's a choice, especially in this day. And age. We understand how hard it is because it's hard. You have so many choices that are so much more convenient, that are so much more that might even taste better if you can't cook. So there's so many other things and temptations, especially here in this living somewhere else, it's probably not as bad and it's not the same. Um, but especially living here, he knows, it's for but it's a choice you have to make. You
Yeah,
talked about how those choices are difficult and how hard they are to make. But I believe that you just start with one thing at a time because it's not just about eat. It's also about how we move our bodies and if we move our bodies and we've gotten stuck in this country into these really sedentary days and we're just sitting around all day working. And when's the last time anybody went for a walk? And we're getting older and we're wondering why our bodies don't move the way we want them to. Um, so it's not just about what we put in our bodies, it's about how we honor God through taking care of our body in general, right?
yeah. I mean, he goes out of his way to discuss food, right? So whether or not we are not bound to the idea of not eating pork, not eating certain things, whatever, he goes out of his way to discuss food and to
Yep.
discuss what we ingest and what we eat. And I think anything that God makes a point of discussing, we need to be mindful of it. I mean, not that we're bound to it in a way that they, to that restrictive way. But if he goes out of his way to discuss and to put some limitations and boundaries around what we consume, then we need to consider that there needs to be boundaries around what we consume. That there needs to be consideration to that. And I don't think we always think about that, especially spiritually, that we don't make enough issue of it. I don't think we
Uh-uh.
do.
No, we don't. We don't. We definitely don't.
You
Um,
know,
it is it's societal and it's impressed upon us. We were talking about earlier because how we eat, the things we eat have become so commercialized. That unfortunately, we live in a country where it was very deliberate. Uh, very deliberate attack on our health and our well-being. Um, so we have to start making a concerted effort because they're not paying attention for us. They're not trying to say, "Hey, we want a healthy society, so let's not do these things." That's not happening.
and then we
Maybe
doubly, as Black people, have an issue. Like it's a double issue. Not to cut you off, but I thought about that as you were talking. I'm thinking, and we doubly got an issue because we were brought to this country and this land, and we were given the scraps. Even though we were harvesting the good things and all those things, we were only allowed to take the scraps. And so we made it do what it do. I've been listening to these things that have been popping up on my Instagram where this old lady is sitting like in a rocking chair and she's talking about old school remedies from charcoal to Epsom salt to cabbage and she's explaining about how in colonial and antebellum America, how those things were used for healing in the body. and that these are
Yeah.
things we discovered after we got here. It wasn't something that we
Mhm.
understood prior to getting here. So it was important to us to learn the land, figure out how it works for us. Like, and we had to figure all of that stuff out with what we were given. And I'm thinking, so a lot of, some of this poor, so we're not just dealing with the society, the societal issues and cultural issues, but we're also dealing with internal cultural issues and generational ignorance. Um,
In this country,
while
sure.
forsaking in this country, while forsaking, some of the things that um, were helpful for us, right, and aiding our health. Um, and I think that happens in Black culture and in Black community all the time. And so now the beauty of the internet, the beauty of Google, the beauty of social media is we don't have to be ignorant anymore about what is works and what's healthy. And then it also reminds us of the things that we already know, right? I mean, any Black family can tell you before the school year started, we was lined up as kids for our teaspoon of castor oil, right? Now, castor oil, we find out about all these wonderful benefits about castor oil, but it's not a far fetched concept. We used to stand in line in the hallway with mommy at the at the medicine closet and wait for her to give us castor oil, and it always right before school started. And we didn't get a whole bunch of colds, and
Yeah.
we weren't super
Yeah,
sickly kids, but we had that teaspoon of nasty castor oil every
and we
year.
drank, we ate it. Daddy caught it trying to taste like something by putting honeycomb, but
Honeycomb with peppermint. You would put some drip peppermint in it
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, he put
Mom
it. He was trying.
started to flavor it. Yeah, mommy, they flavored it. Mommy bought that peppermint flavored castor oil one time. Thought it was
Oh,
gonna make it. I was like, no, ma'am, still very nasty. And
that was worse. It
hold
was
your nose and all that. And all those things we did, like those passed down remedies and things, like, our
well, you
parents
guys,
did.
they were passed down, but my thing is, those things became a lot more unavailable as I got
Yeah.
older. I started. I couldn't just go to the store and buy castor oil. I
Mm-mm.
couldn't just go to the store and find honey with the honeycomb in it, raw honey. Like those things were phased out in the grocery store. The grocery store has just become so much more in and of itself, but
Toxic.
in of itself unhealthy. You
Mm.
gotta order castor oil, and you gotta order it off the internet, and you know it's not that we went to the grocery store or to the local wherever and bought that stuff.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
the health food stores, you buy it, it's $1,000. It's the one
And for
health food
sure.
store,
For
yeah,
sure.
it's 55,000 miles away from where you live, or you
For
gotta
sure.
order it. So it just got they knew that it was good for us,
Yeah.
and they took it away.
Yeah.
They took it away because I don't. It didn't seem like it was a struggle for mom to go pick up that nasty behind casserole. It wasn't a struggle. She went to the store and got it.
Yeah.
Buy the cases with the honeycomb in it. It didn't even have a label on the jar.
Yeah.
I don't even know where he got that honey from, and it was all sticky and grimy. Went to somebody who
He
breeds.
got it from a
Is
friend.
that
He
what
had
they are?
one of his friends. No, yeah, one of his friends when
What
growing up,
were
one of Daddy's friends had a beehive, like they had a bee
was
farm,
the
and
bee?
he got it from
Yeah,
like
and
a
went
keeper,
got
and he got it from. If we didn't get it from there, we got it from the farmers market. The
right,
beekeeper at the farmers market. Um,
right,
so yeah, one of the places where we got it from normally, and then like I said, we also grew up in a family where we grew our own food, like every spring
right,
into we grew our own food. Mommy used to can when we were kids too, and we get so many tomatoes, and mom would can the tomatoes, can the
uh,
peppers, and can okra, and can all the things. And so I remember, going in the back, go back and get that can of stewed tomatoes, So all the stuff too that we used to grow, nothing went to waste. Those things um, we utilized for to last us through the winter time. So all that kind of stuff, like those traditions, even though while they took a
yeah,
lot off the shelf, we also
yeah,
let a lot of things fall by the wayside as far as healthy eating, traditional things that we learned and teaching to our children and passing that information on. I think, for not for nothing, we dropped the ball in some sense.
A little bit, yeah, it did. Because I mean, I think it kind of go ahead. I think the ball. I think we did drop the ball because some of these things became a little bit harder to get. I think that is part of it, why the ball was dropped. We're not living in homes where we have yards that can sustain a garden. Um, we're not, so life got a lot busier and got a lot faster and got a lot quicker. And instead of us slowing down, we kind of just went along with it and we dropped the ball and started feeding McDonald's, Burger King, and all of the quick stuff and the processed foods and all of the things. So yeah, we have dropped the ball. We kept up with the time. We kept up with what they
Hmm.
were telling us to do. Didn't hold to our laurels and say, "Hey, no, we're not doing that. We're going to stay here and do this because it's better for us."
Hmm.
We moving with them when they told with the time of move,
Hmm.
and it's because I never did understand why Bob would drink the pot liquor from the
Because it was
greens
healthy. Yeah.
because it was healthy.
Nutrients.
All
Well, that's
I
where all the
did,
nutrients went after you boiled it. So that's where all it went, to the pot liquor. It was no longer in the greens because you done boiled it out in the water.
and her skin was beautiful.
Mhm.
She just drank the pot liquor right out the pot. And I mean, she would eat the greens too, but she would just drink the pot liquor. Like, ooh, baby, this is the best part.
And it is
So
the best part because at that point you
it is.
you boiled out the nutrition. So nutrition is now in
Yep,
the water. And so,
it's in the
so
water.
you need to drink the water in order for you to be
Yep,
able to get the nutritional value of it all. We
yep.
do it all the time.
So
Yeah.
there's so many things, and so we have to get back to we have to start trying to find a way to at least start making our bodies healthier. And the unfortunate thing is that, especially living here in the U.S., our choices are skewed and limited. Uh, it's going to be expensive, more expensive than what groceries are. Because it's going to be more expensive to go and buy Bell Evans chicken or find a butcher
It
or go
is.
over to Wild
It is.
Pork
Sure.
and buy meat and fish and it's going to be more expensive, but it's going
For
to be
sure.
worth
Well,
definitely
health
going to
wise,
be
for
it's
sure.
going to be worth
Yeah.
it's going to mean that you're going to have to come home and cook maybe for two, and that's another thing. Mommy would cook enough for a couple of days. You know, we ate leftovers.
Yeah, we did.
People
Shockingly.
don't.
They don't do it
We ate
anymore, but no. Yeah, we
cooking.
ate leftovers. She
That
cooked enough for a couple of days. It was planned cooking, like we knew it was going to happen. Like, she had an idea of what, the week of food would look like. Like, all those things took effort and time and
yep,
energy and planning. And I think that that's the part that makes it difficult. That's the most difficult part for us. And that's one that
yeah,
America, that's definitely a Western civilization cultural way of thinking. Because in
sure.
other countries, food is viewed very differently, and they have no problem taking time with food. Most
They
countries,
have no
people
problem.
take their time with food.
Period. Yes, and that
Mhm.
means eating better and eating cleaner. And it's just they take their time. If they can't get it on the table, they not eating.
Right.
You know,
For sure.
I mean,
For sure.
I think we're one of the very few countries left that eats as much processed food as we do. All of the
Yeah.
aisle grocery store, everything in the aisles is processed.
Mhm.
Everything, even your rice. Yes, the rice. If it says enriched flour, that's processed. If it says
Mhm.
enriched rice, it's processed. Yeah, they got some organic rice out there now. Good luck. But
Yeah.
look at the
And things
ingredients
like
on the
that,
back of
like
those.
real quick. Yeah. Look at the
Yeah,
ingredients, you're saying. And a little
there's an
trick with
app.
that, there's an app you can do, but another little trick with that is just simple is plan out your grocery shopping but don't buy certain things from the regular grocery store. Like for me, rice is something that I buy from the Japanese spot. There is a international market here. I buy from places like that because they import it from the countries that grow the rice, and it's not
Yeah.
going through that process of stuff. So I'll buy rice. I'll go to the international market and buy rice because I can't read what's on the rice thing because you didn't brought that rice over here from India or wherever. So my basmati, I'm buying from India. I know it's basmati rice that was vacuum packaged and sent over here,
Yeah.
or black rice or grain rices or red rices and stuff like that. You just have a greater variety of foods that are not enriched, and you get the opportunity to make those choices. You have a whole lot more different choices, and it
Right.
expands the palate, right? It takes you out of that dull, mundane palate, and you have different options. And then you realize too that all of those enriching ingredients are in there.
Right. So, and
Not
if you have an international market store in your area, please take advantage of it. As I'm saying, there's this app that I don't know if you can see that. It's called the Yuka app, Yuka. And if you download it, it's completely free. You open up the app and you can scan just about any product that you can pick up in the store that, oh, I'm going the wrong way,
much.
that has a barcode. I went through my cabinet, right? I cleaned out my cabinet and you don't even have, you don't have to go to the store, this stuff in your cabinet, just to scan some of the stuff to see what was in it. So I scanned, let me just pick anything, and it keeps a history. It's complete history. It does not send you a bunch of emails. You don't have to pay for it. It's not a monthly subscription because who's doing that? Uh, so
Right.
here's this organic coconut. Oh, wait, wrong way, this way. Wait, wrong way, this way. No, yeah, right. It
Hmm.
says organic, but it came up as a 41 out of 100, which is poor. And if you look further down, it shows you the things that are in left and right that make it poor. The additives, if it's red, it's really, really bad for you. If it's yellow, uh, limited risk. It even tells you how much saturated fat, sodium stuff is in it. And if it has an additive in it, you can tap it and it'll tell you what the additive does to your body.
What is Guam? Guam is you because that Guam is usually in coconut milk. Guam is a
Guar gum.
preservative. Ugar gum or Guam.
Guar gum.
Ugar gum.
It's a
Guar
texturizing agent. It tells you what it does. It provides consistency, maintains, modifies the texture of the product. But the potential associated risks are disturbance of the gut. And it tells you how it affects your body. And if it's good, what did I scan? I ended up scanning another coconut milk that was a 54 out of 100 that they considered to be good. And it didn't have any of those. It did have some additives in it, but that harmful to your body. Um, and of course, you want to look for the higher the number, the better for it is. So if you're looking for a way to start it, just to know what's out there, because you may not have an
Right.
international market. So
Right.
for me, I live the international market that they did have closed.
Oh, okay.
It closed all of the Willenboro Mart. It shut down. There's nothing in there. Um, that's closed. There are a few little like here and there, like there's an Asian market, I think, and I think there's even a Jamaican market here. But you can be hard pressed to find them. Certain areas hard pressed to find them.
Right.
So if
There are.
you are, just use an app. I went to Costco one day and I was scanning. Man, I was in Costco for like 3 hours. Me and my godson, he has the app too. He was like, "Mom, we got to scan it." I was like, "All right." It'll tell you whether or not it's something you should be eating. Gabe was all over it. Funny. Um, and you can scan anything. Scan toothpaste, deodorant. It'll tell you everything that's in it, especially if it's a name brand.
Yeah, I haven't used
So
deodorant
give
in
it a
20.
try.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't used deodorant in like 18 years.
Well, yeah, deodorant is a whole other conversation about that. We had a little conversation about that. Talked about menopause and stuff. It's
Yeah, I
subjective,
don't.
right? It's subjective.
It,
So you
it,
know,
I have it, and I don't miss it, and I don't be smelling bad, and the only time I do smell bad is when I eat bad food. If I go on a
okay.
rant, like a type, if I go way left on my diet, start eating any
Hmm.
large, like at one point I had gone back to eating pork, and I was having the hardest time maintaining my underarm odor with what I do use, right? But I realized you eating pork. So whatever hormones and steroids or whatever's in this meat that you're eating and you're consuming it's meant with your pH, your body system. You have to stop eating it if you want to
Right.
maintain smelling like a bear. So I said, oh, I can't be eating it no more. So even those
So,
things, it's
oh, I'm
smell like a
sorry.
bear. Give me a
But
moment.
just saying, there are excellent things out there. This one was I'm going the right way. Why is it not
Go
doing?
away.
This one was excellent. It was a 94 out of 100. It was some organic, unsalted chicken stock. No,
Mm-hmm.
I said the additive is completely risk free. The additive that's in there, and so were all of the other levels. So, I mean, there's things out here that can help us get through.
Oh, definitely. And that app is something you put me onto the other day that I'm so excited to download to my phone because
Yeah.
tomorrow it will be in effect when I go to the grocery store. And so I just think, all of that's necessary. And then after a while too, you learn the products that are healthier for you, and you learn the name
That's
brands
a
that are a little bit
sponsor
less.
that
Yeah,
situation right there, was just completely unsponsored.
yeah, that was very, very much unspoken. But
Yeah.
but you learn the name brands, you learn all the foods and all that kind of stuff. Like I knew what brand was going to come up is a little bit better because I'm a coconut milk buyer. I buy it all the time.
Yes.
I put it in,
Yeah.
and if I choose canned coconut milk all the time, and that's the one processed thing that I purchase. And there's been some times where I've made it myself fresh because you can go to the or you can go to the market, but they're perfect example of that whole time thing, right? I buy coconut milk and I use it in a lot of things that I cook. So I buy it in a can. And then I learned, but then I was in Guyana at one point and I saw, where I was visiting the family I was visiting with, she made her own coconut milk. And she showed me how to do it. And I was in the international market one day and I was like, oh, they got a whole like thing of coconuts over here that they always have. Why am I not making my own coconut milk? And it's crazy because I can make my own coconut milk. It's not a hard thing. You have a blender, you can make your own coconut milk. But who wants to go home, chop up and bust up coconuts, pull out the meat?
Hard to do.
It's a process. It's an all day process versus just buying a can that you can just pour it whatever you have to pour it to. And so it's just the whole you know. And I have all the things. That's the sad thing. I have the jar thing that sucks the air out so that things last longer. And I got all the mason jars in all three sizes: the 8 ounce, the 16 ounce mason jar, the 32 ounce mason jar. Like I got all the things. If I want to preserve food, do all that kind of stuff in my refrigerator. It's just time and oftentimes,
Fine.
you know.
I mean,
uh,
right, right. I guess you could. I don't think that. I guess, or and if you're ready or topped up or whatever. But listen, we thank you guys for joining us. This series is going to be pretty great. We have 2 more episodes left in this series. We did hindrances last week. Today we were talking about eating by faith, and then the next 2 are rest and a healthy community. The next 2 weeks coming up here in September. So my mindful moment, I think, coming up today is just make the effort. It was similar to my mindful moment last week because I think that's going to be where we start, right? It's going to be, I think I'm alone in my journey here. I think I lost my sister. That's going to be where we start. We're going to start with trying and making the effort. So this topic, I'm really excited.
really excited. I
If I be mindful,
be my
the week, it's
week. It
30.
started.
Start
Start
somewhere,
somewhere,
finding a way to be
finding a
able
way to be able to
to buying and
buying
see,
and it,
or
or if it's
stopping the
shopping
perimeter
the
of the
perimeter of the
store.
store,
Just
you know, starting
looking
looking at
to
you
find a place to
find a
start,
place to start,
try to commit
try to
to it and
commit
stick
to
with
it
it.
and stick. Like,
Let's journey.
journey.
yeah, my be mindful moment would be, um, I mean, as I was talking, I kind of thought about it. What would it look like if I saw what I consumed as an act, as a part of my worship?
Mm.
How to change what I ate? How to change the time that I ate? How would I change the time that I take with preparing my meals and food? If I thought about it as um, honoring my body and what that means as it relates to honoring God, how would that shift my eating choices and habits? And not just eating, but my mobility, my time management, my 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 rest. How would all of it be impacted if I, were more intentional about that and the way that and the perspective and the lens through which I viewed eating?
Peace.
Guys,
Next week.
next week.